we go.
All right. Shalom, brothers and sisters. This is your brother Hawayala and the brother
Azariah.
And we want to give all praises and glory to our Heavenly Father Yahweh in the name of our Lord and Savior Yahweh Shai. And we want to give, of course, peace, mercy, and loving kindness to the hopeful elect scattered throughout the four corners of the earth that are looking to overcome the time of great tribulation, also known as the time of Jacob's trouble, that they may be able to inherit everlasting life. Today's topic, we're going to discuss the topic of grace. Me and the brother Azariah have been talking about this for the last couple of weeks. And, it was something that is definitely needed to be understood in these times. And I think that it will be, a very edifying topic for you brothers and sisters that may have been thinking about it whenever you ran across it, because growing up, you heard this word being used maybe in the Christian church, but it was misinterpreted and it wasn't applied the right way. And being now that we've woken up to the proper knowledge and understanding, it's important that even just on a basic level that we understand this word. So that way, whenever you're reading it in the scriptures, you understand what it means when you're under grace versus under the law. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section in the live chat below, and we'll try and see if we can get to you. If you happen to catch this live stream after it's done and maybe you're seeing the replay, feel free to put any questions in the comment section or shoot us an email, and we can probably either try and do a follow-up or send you scriptures that would maybe address your point. And, that's pretty much, how we'll handle it from there. And if possible, there may be a follow-up lesson or part 2 if time permits. But we feel like this right here should be, good enough for you to at least get a basic understanding of the topic of grace. So what we're going to do, the brother's going to go ahead and read, starting off at Genesis chapter 6 and verse 8 and 9.
All right. But Noah found grace in the eyes of Yahweh. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations, and Noah walked with Yahweh.
Yeah, so basically, this is where you start hearing about grace, because the reason why grace was needed because of the time that they were in. And you're going to see what we're talking about as far as, the topic of grace. In fact, this is the first time in the Bible that the word grace is being used. And Noah, in his generation, with his wife and his kids and their, his sons and their wives, they were the first elect people. That was according to the election of grace, like you read about in the epistles. So the reason why it's important we go into this, because this is the first time you see grace being used. And why was grace needed? Because if you read up in chapter 6 of Genesis, that talks about how the world had fallen into violence and there was a lot of evil, and the intents of man's heart was evil continually. Okay, meaning that the Most High had looked upon, all the children of men on the earth, all the men on the earth, and deemed them basically unworthy or not justified according to the law, which even back then they kept, even though it wasn't chronicled as far as like particular laws being written. If you go back into the garden and you see like the law of sacrifice, the law of first fruits, and those type of things were already being done. But in Noah's generation, there was so much wickedness that the Most High had to, out of that generation, show grace to somebody. And he did that with Noah. And that's what we want to talk about. So being that this is the first time grace is used, let's go ahead and look into this definition of grace in the Hebrew. Now, this is the Strong H2580. The word there is chan, okay, which right there, that word, when you look at the usage in the King James, in the Hebrew, grace 38 times, favor 26 times, gracious 2 times, pleasant 1 time, precious 1 time, and then well-favored 1 time. So what does grace mean? And it means to favor, grace, charm, favor, grace, elegance, favor, acceptance. So essentially, you can, when you go back to Genesis chapter 6 and 8, it means that Noah found favor or acceptance in the eyes of Yahweh. Okay. Do you have anything to say on this one?
No, I mean that's pretty much right on the money, man.
Con. All right. So we're going to go into the Greek definition. We're just going to use one precept. This is going to be Hebrews chapter 4 and verse 16. Let us therefore come boldly unto the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need. Okay. So we're seeing here that the word grace is used twice. The throne of grace is found under the Most High Yahweh, because he was the one that has to show favor unto any individual on the planet, just like he did with Noah, and the same thing he'll do with his elect as well. Okay, so that's why it says again, let us therefore come boldly unto the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy, okay, and find grace to help in time of need. So we're going to go into the definition. This is in the Greek. The word there is charis, okay, and that's the Strong's G5485. And then, of course, it goes into the usage. Okay, mainly grace 130 times, favor 6 times. Okay, we already seen the word favor in the definition under the Hebrew. Thanks, all right, thank 4 times, and then 3 times under this one, but also pleasure twice, and then miscellaneous using 7 times. So let's go into that definition outline of biblical usage. Grace means that which affords joy, pleasure, delight, sweetness, charm, loveliness, grace of speech. Grace also means goodwill, loving kindness, favor. Okay. So whenever you find grace under the Lord, you're finding a goodwill, meaning he's showing goodwill towards you and favor towards you. Loving kindness, of merciful kindness, right? Because like he says there, again, that we may obtain mercy, of merciful kindness, by which God, asserting his holy influence upon souls, turns them to Mashiach. Okay, because that's how we got this. It wasn't because you did a particular work that you found grace in the Lord, because it's not of works. Okay, meaning that for any brother or sister that received this truth, it was because the Most High showed favor and goodwill towards you, because we know, according to the scriptures, that he can make anybody stay in darkness and blindness and not understand this. So in order for him to turn you to this, he has to show favor towards you. And that's what it means. Turns them to Mashiach, keeps strengthened, increases them in Christian faith, knowledge, affection, and kindles them to the exercise of Christian virtues. And that's the reason why you see the word grace being used a lot in both the old and the new, but especially in the new in regards to your faith, your walk. It's like, you always ask for, hey, by the grace of the Lord, I got to understand this, right? I got this knowledge. I received this faith, I received this understanding, meaning you received it really because of the Lord's favor towards you. All right. So, and same type of thing is saying what is due to grace, the spiritual condition of one governed by the power of divine grace, the token or proof of grace, benefit, gift of grace, benefit, bounty, thanks, recompense, reward. Okay. So hopefully right there, that gives you an understanding of what the word grace means in the Greek and in the Hebrew. It's pretty much the same thing. So this is the etymology. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to read the stuff that's in parentheses. This is the noun for grace in the etymology: God's unmerited favor. See, unmerited means that you didn't earn it. That's why when you go into the scriptures, it says that grace not of works, right? Lest that any man should boast, right? So God's unmerited favor, meaning you didn't earn it. He showed favor towards you, love or help, okay? That you may find grace in time of need, of help, right? Love, okay? Pardon, divine grace, mercy, favor, thanks, elegance, virtue. And then we're going to go ahead and go down here into the verb usage: to thank, give thanks, praise, mercy. okay, to show favor. So that's what that means. Did you have anything to say, Ak, before we go into Romans 3?
Not much. That's keto. That word mercy. Being a part of grace. How many times the Most High had mercy on us? You know what I'm saying? Ancestors from before time and now. If we examine our everyday lives and things that we've done, we would say He's had mercy on us, right? So that's a heavy part, and to understanding to even have a chance to be where we are right now.
This is why this is a much needed topic, man, because a lot of times we don't understand like how good the Lord was to us when he chose us to understand this. And it makes you more humble because of the fact that you realize that he was just showing favor. It was unmerited. God's unmerited favor, meaning you didn't do anything. So that's why a lot of times you got to show mercy to those that have not yet received this and show patience towards them. Now, and of course you always got to have a level of like balance and everything, but that's the reason why we still are seeking after those that still don't understand it yet. And we're hoping that the Most High shows them grace.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. You gotta show that same. And I'm gonna bring out. You didn't gotta go to this. I'm gonna just read this quick precept right that I thought about. Matthew 5:7. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy.
Come on.
So that's even more mercy you should obtain by showing, to piggyback off what you just said, by showing mercy to your comrades. You know what I'm saying? Walking in this faith under Yahweh B'Shem Yahawashi. There you shall obtain mercy yourself, more from the Heavenly Father. We all, we need it, man. We need to add more into that bank, man, that grace bank, that mercy.
Yeah, that's heavy. Because mercy, just like it says here in the noun, also means pardon. So that mercy, meaning you want to get that too. That's the reason why you have in there, forgive those that trespass against you, as we forgive those that trespass against us. The Lord's Prayer is even in there showing you that you need to show mercy and pardon other people so He can pardon you. Right? So that's why you got to forgive other people their trespasses as the Lord has forgiven your trespasses. So you also are in a position to show grace unto somebody else that may need it also. And the thing about it being that it says God's unmerited favor, this is where we have to be careful to not judge someone's condition that they're in according to what they are in the law, meaning depending on somebody's background or situation as far as maybe the sin that they're in when you meet them or where they're at in life. That doesn't justify whether or not that person shouldn't receive to hear the gospel, meaning someone that's in whatever condition, a witch, a sorcerer, an adulterer, a thief, what I'm saying, a tax collector, a politician, when you go through the people in the different walks of life, we don't have the authority to decide whether or not someone should receive that. And I've heard people say, oh, you can't give that to that person. That person's in this condition. You know what I'm saying? I've heard people say that, oh, that person's done because they're doing X, Y, and Z at the time when you see them, meaning you can't preach to that person. That person's in this condition. That's not up to you because the Most High is doing this with unmerited favor. Meaning they didn't work. There's nothing that they did. So if you preach the gospel and He showed favor to them, you have no say. Because I heard people say, "Look, I can't get baptized until until I'm not doing this." You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, the Most High showed favor. You believed in His gospel. Repent and be baptized. Just get in that. And let the Most High show His favor and grace towards you. All right. So we're gonna go into the actual meat of the lesson. We're going to go into Romans chapter 3 and verse 10, and we'll go ahead and read. You can go ahead and read on down to in fact, let me read this because I think you can start from 19 and we'll break that down. So I'll go ahead and read this. So this is from 9 actually. So Romans chapter 3 and verse 9. What then? Are we better than they? No, in no wise, which is what we talked about. We're no better than those that have not yet received, right? For we have before proved, both Jews and Gentiles, that they are all under sin. As it is written, there is none righteous, no, not one. There is none that understandeth. There is none that seeketh after God. They are all gone out of the way. They are together become unprofitable. There is none that doeth good, no, not one.
That's a lot, yeah.
Huh?
I just want to go into that, how it's stated twice. No, not one. No, not one. So that's telling you, no matter how, hey man, just anyone who thinks they're doing this and they're of righteous, we're striving towards perfection. Don't get it twisted. That's what we're all striving for. But you can't sit here and call yourself the righteous of the holiest of holies, man. You know what I'm saying? It said twice. There's no, not one righteous.
Yeah, meaning that there was not one among the Jews or the Gentiles, meaning those that knew the customs, those that were, part of the Hasmonean dynasty or part of the Maccabean, the people that lived in land and those that were scattered abroad into the Greek customs or into the customs of the heathen. He says it don't matter whether you were in that condition or not. None of y'all was completely 100% righteous.
Come on.
That's what he's saying in this. None of y'all was really seeking after me because the only way you could seek after me is if I showed favor to you anyway, for you to seek after me.
It's heavy, man. It's heavy.
You know what I'm saying?
It's heavy, man. It still applies to the same way it applies to this day, man.
Mm-hmm. God, that verse 11. There is none that understandeth. There is none that seeketh after Yahweh. Okay, so now if we skip back down, we're going to read verse 12 again. They are all gone out of the way. They are together become unprofitable. There is none that doeth good, no, not one. Like the brother said it twice. Verse 13, their throat is an open sepulcher. With their tongues they have used deceit. The poison of asps is under their lips, whose mouth is full of cursing and bitterness. Now this is talking about it's talking about among the whole nation. We fit in one of these categories or all, okay? Whose mouth is full of cursing and bitterness. Their feet are swift to shed blood. Destruction and misery are in their ways, and the way of peace they have not known. Because you could think back, if you were a believer now, there was a time when you did not know the way of peace. And really, destruction and misery was in your past. You were causing it to yourself, and you were causing it to other people, even if you didn't really know you were doing it. But you were technically doing that. Before the Most High had showed His grace towards you.
Come.
Then it says, verse 18, there is no fear of God before their eyes. Now we know that what things soever the law saith. In fact, you could probably read this. This is your part that we're going to go into for you as well. Yeah, so go ahead and read verse 19 and on down to where you want to read that and break it.
Come. Now we know that what things soever the law saith, it saith to them who are under the law, that every mouth may be stopped, and all the world may become guilty before Yahweh. Therefore, by the deeds of the law, there shall no flesh be justified in his sight. For by the law is the knowledge of sin. But now the righteousness of Yahweh without the law is manifested, being witnessed by the law and the prophets. Even the righteousness of Yahweh, which is by faith of Yahawashi Hamashiach, unto all and upon all them that believe. For there is no difference. For all have sinned and come short of the glory of Yahweh, being justified freely by his grace through the redemption that is in Hamashiach Yahawashi, whom Yahweh have set forth to be appropriation through faith in his blood, to declare his righteousness for the remission of sins that are past, through the forbearance of Yahweh, to declare, I say, at this time his righteousness, that he might be just and the justifier of him which believeth in Yahawashi. Where is boasting then? It is excluded. By what law? Of works? Nay, but by the law of faith. Therefore, we conclude that a man is justified by faith without the deeds of the law. Hey, man, so that that we're going into that's heavy, man. It's talking about the whole time, and this is a big thing in Israel. I believe since I've come into this walk, I've realized, and it was on me, of course, too. A lot of what's pushed onto us is law. Like how well you keep the law. Like we know we keep the law by faith, but that's what we leave out. We leave out that faith is the most important part, and that faith is in who? Yahawashi Hamashiach, who the Heavenly Father Yahweh sent for us. That's who the faith is in. That's how we get the favor, and that's how we get the grace from Yahweh. So that is what we're justified by, is the faith. So what we do, our works are a reflection of our faith, not the other way around.
Say that again.
Our faith, or the works that we do, is a reflection of our faith, not the other way around.
Come on. That's heavy, because I remember when I first started getting into this, and I remember there was this heavy focus on the law. In fact, to the point where certain groups threw away Yahawashi, threw away his name. You began to realize when you start listening to some of these groups out here that the law had superseded, meaning the acts, the being trying to be justified by the law, superseded being justified by faith. Now you still need, like the brother said, if your faith that you have in Yahawashi leads to you doing the works of the law, you establish it, like it says in verse 31 in this. Because we're not making void the law through faith. We're saying faith, like the brother said, is what is helping you really truly establish the law. And a lot of people I've seen literally people come up to brothers out there and say, all right, so what do I got to do? Like, okay, I found out that I'm keeping all these heathen customs. I didn't know I was keeping, my birthday, these Thanksgiving, New Year's, and Christmas. Okay, you show me that it's wrong. What else? What do I need to do? They say, well, look, brother, you just got to keep the law. They don't run you to, you got to have faith in Yahawashi, and you need to receive your forgiveness of your sins. And then you what? Establish the law through faith. That's the right order, not the other way around. And that's why you have a lot of people trying to justify themselves in the law, and they feel like as long as they're keeping the law, quote unquote, perfectly, they really don't need to believe in Yahawashi.
Karnak, it's yeah, like you stated, people can go through. Look, anytime you can have a lesson, whether you're doing it you're doing it on whatever platform you're doing it on.
Because then at that point,
I was breaking up.
which we'll probably maybe get into another time. I might just do a separate lesson on that. But let me see here.
That joint, I don't know. Maybe it was on my end. The joint was kind of buffering. Did everything go smoothly when you was talking?
Yeah, I'm hoping so, because I could tell that something was buffering a little bit. So, if there's an issue, then we'll address it another time. But it's no big deal.
That kind of
how much did you miss?
When you was going into it, just it was a little bit. I mean, we established the point was established though, so it wasn't. Yeah.
So now we can go into James. Yeah,
James
go ahead.
You can
go ahead and read it.
Okay. For whosoever shall keep the whole law and yet offend in one point, he is guilty of all.
Come on, man.
So that means, hey, like no matter you know how many laws there's in here. So if you, like it's saying right here, if you go to 11, for he that said, do not commit adultery, said also, do not kill. Now, if thou commit no adultery, yet if thou kill, thou art become a transgressor of the law. So you could be a man who tells somebody don't commit adultery, but if you go and kill, or you disobey the law in any other point, you still have transgressed the whole entire laws in entirety. So it's almost as if you were a person who committed adultery, even though you don't do it. If that falls upon you when you do these, when you go by yourself of the justification in the law. And anytime you can go into this, and like the brother was saying, anytime you can go in this and you miss preaching Yahawashi, that's when you have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
That should not be something that should even be able to happen. It seems like Yahawashi, we talk about this all the time, right? It seems like Yahawashi is a reflection of the law. And people talk about the law more than they talk about Yahawashi. When the law, well, we should not try and get too far ahead of ourselves for the lesson's sake, but the law was really just the schoolmaster to Yahawashi. It was showing he was that to come greater to come out of the law.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That's true. Yeah, because when you go through after Yahawashi ascended up to the Father, when you go through the book of Acts and the epistles, the centerpiece of what they're preaching about is Yahawashi. That's the center point of what they're preaching. Now, within the law and the prophets, you actually expound on who Yahawashi is and what the will of the Heavenly Father is concerning, our faith. But if you remove Yahawashi out and you're trying to go back onto sticking with the law, you've really kind of like missed the boat at that point, because you didn't make Yahawashi the centerpiece of your faith. Now we still go into other things. Now we still go into other topics. Don't get it twisted. You still go into like interpersonal relationships, family life, how to deal with brothers and sisters in the faith, how to deal with those that are without, meaning those that don't believe, right? How to deal with your family that don't believe, how to deal with your coworkers that don't believe. Prophecy, right? Those topics are still dealt with. If you go to certain chapters in the epistles, right? They're dealing with things concerning prophecy. But remember, also, the testimony of Yahawashi is the spirit of prophecy. So in addition to you dealing with the aspects of how to live righteously in this world and and going into the revelation of Yahawashi, you're still going to deal with these other topics. But like the brother said, is that the law and the prophets was our schoolmaster to bring us to him, meaning to reveal us to him. Because remember, the apostles, there was no such thing as a New Testament scripture roll, meaning like, the epistles. They didn't have that. They had the rolls, and they had the scriptures. They had the scriptures, and that's enough for you. If you in the scriptures, it's revealed Yahawashi, like the brother said. Yahawashi is a reflection of the book of the Bible, meaning like he comes in the volume of the book, right? Well, that's how you see his reflection, like the brother was talking about, in the volume of the book. It reveals him, but you have to first have faith and believe in him first in order to receive that revelation of him that's already written.
Come. Hey, man. Beautiful, well put. That's what it is, man. So that's something we gotta this last hour that we're in, because we're that close, right? We just want to make sure, because it's still a thing. We come across that being brought up amongst our people, and trying to condemn someone by how well they keep the law. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the wrong qualifications. You know what I'm saying? We're looking at the wrong metrics to what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of hold a brother or sister too. We want to hold and make sure that their faith is up. You know what I'm saying? Now, result, like you said, doing these works, brother should do that. If you got the ability to do something like keep the Sabbath or keep the keeping these high holy days, because the Most High has given you that day off to do so, and vice versa, things like whatever, eating, keeping yourself in the dietary law, things of that nature, those things. Go ahead, that's what we to do. That's a result of our faith, man. But you're not don't condemn somebody. You know what I'm saying? Off of how well someone keeps the law, because we all sinners. If you got one person who can keep the whole law, then that person does not need Yahawashi to come and save them. They already saved, as the Christians would say.
Yep. Yeah, because it tells you about rehearsing the righteous acts in Judges. It's just like when brothers keep the Passover, like people want to get technical, like you got to get an unblemished male lamb of 1 year old without blemish. So brothers realize that it's hard to do that, even though it's possible. Yeah, you can go out of your way right now and try and see if you can find a lamb that you can basically pre-order right now here in Babylon, that by the time the Passover comes, it'll be 1 year old and it's going to be without blemish, because it's that good of a specimen, right? Right. But most 90-something%, 99% of people that are going to keep it, they're not going to be able to do that, right? So hence the reason why you're wanting to be able to. What does it say in Luke chapter 1? That the reason why Yahawashi has to come to deliver us, that we may serve Yahweh without fear. That's what it says in Luke chapter 1. We may serve him without fear of consequence of what we have to deal with here. Okay, because you're under persecution and your life is threatened because of this, of wanting to keep this. When the time comes and you're told you got to take the shot, or what I'm saying, in order to keep your job, you're doing it because you're trying to be obedient to the Most High, but you're going to be doing it possibly at the threat of your life being, of potential starvation, or a fallout with your family because maybe your spouse don't believe, and they're going to be wondering why you didn't take the shot in order to continue paying the bills, and now you got a conflict at your home over something that you're trying to serve the Lord over, right? So we have to understand, like the brother's saying, is that faith is the biggest justifier of you over the works of the law. But you are, by faith, you establish the law, like it says, that, like it says in the book of Romans, in the last verse, right? In that Romans 3, I believe it's in there. Yeah, let me read it real quick. This is Romans chapter 3 and verse 31. Do we then make void the law through faith? Yahweh forbid. Yea, we establish the law.
Come on.
Okay. So that's the reason why when you get in, you begin to use the Most High's mercy and favor he showed towards you to now begin to keep these different things, the righteousness of the law that's in Yahawashi. Okay. So we're going to go on, I guess, into Galatians.
Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah, no, you got it. Slack it.
Yeah, Galatians chapter 2 and 16. Knowing that a man is not justified by the works of the law, man, this leads right in, but by the faith of Yahawashi Mashiach, even we have believed in Yahawashi Mashiach, that we might be justified by the faith of Mashiach and not by the works of the law. For by the works of the law shall no flesh be justified.
Wow. We could stop it right there.
Yo, man, it's crazy when you understand the importance of Yahawashi you begin to say these things that line right up with what's in the scriptures. The Most High says, and this is what it is, and this is the reason why some people have a problem with Paul's epistles, because they justify themselves in the law, but then when you examine, they're not even keeping the law properly. Because part of the law was, justice, mercy, and faith. And that's the aspect that's missing with those that are basically justifying themselves in the law. And then many of them don't even keep it. You got people talking about the law, and then they'll say Paul was going off because he was saying people not to keep the law. You got guys out here, you got these guys listen, bro.
There's too many elements, bro.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you got guys who've been created whole new ordinances against the law, man-made commandments against the law. You know what I'm saying? You got guys out here, getting with one sister and breaking off that relationship, going to another and going to another, going to another. And y'all not reading red letter. Well, red letter tells you certain things, Yahushua says there's certain ways you got to operate if you're his believer, if you're his disciple. But because they're so beholden to that law, they think that they're justified by the law, and they remove red letter. And that's very dangerous, because we were warned in the law that you would have to listen to the words of Yahushua Mashiach in order to be what? Justified.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you said you get destroyed, man. You said, hey, man, that blood's going to be required if you don't take heed to this voice, man. So for those who don't believe in Yahushua, I mean, and you can even, and that goes for anyone, right? You can say you call on his name, but that's why the action has to show it. Like you have to move like a believer in him, thus showing it. You can call on his name if you want, but certain elements that you don't take shows that you actually don't believe in him. So you're really no different than an Old Testament only Israelite. I'm not gonna get too much into that, but you really no different for OT only. And OT only, at least they're full on with their path. They know that they don't believe, so okay, at least they go that route, which it's totally wrong. And you have no pathway to salvation without Yahushua, but at least you're taking a solid approach. These are things that just to understand, not put people under bondage, and to understand what we gotta do, man.
Gone. Like the brother was saying, about operating the right way. So verse 17, for the sake of those that think that we're saying that you can do whatever you want, it says, but if while we seek to be justified by Mashiach, we ourselves are also found sinners, is therefore Christ or Mashiach the minister of sin? Yahweh forbid. So no, we can't do whatever we want. That's the reason why there's parameters within the law of what can and can't be done. And if you see that, many of the laws is based on this: love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Okay, so there's certain things you're not going to do as a believer, that you don't want to be doing as a believer, right? That's the reason why we know that there's still a balance to everything. Okay, and Yahushua shows you, he teaches you that balance, and it's expounded on by the apostles. In fact, many of the behaviors in the book of Acts shows you how you have to operate, because how you also treat your brother or sister in the faith is also a determining factor in your faith in Mashiach, Yahushua. Is determined by those things: your individual behavior and your interpersonal behavior with those that are believers and those that are not believers, right? And those are the actions that you have to do in order to be called the children of the highest. Read Matthew 5, 6, and 7 to get a good idea of some of the summary of the behaviors that a believer is to have and how he's supposed to act in certain situations. Yahushua goes over it in those chapters, among others, but those are very quick. That's known as the Sermon on the Mount. That's a very good space and barometer to see, like, wow, am I doing these things? You know what I'm saying? Am I doing these things that he's talking about? And that's part of the righteousness that is within the law that he's discussing. not just I kept this law, like on a legal, carnally, like legally, like, oh, I did this. Oh, yeah, carnally, I got fringes. It's like, okay, it's deeper than the fringes,
Yeah.
It's deeper than, okay, I kept the Passover. When you know what I'm saying? When your own brother, when one of your own people came to you, or, needing something, and, you didn't want to do it because you felt like, oh, they got to earn it, you know what I'm saying? Or whatever. So there's certain ways that some of our people, and Pharisees were like that, someone that was in a downtrodden position, oh, they're cursed, rather than you having a heart of mercy towards them, right? So,
by the way, Shalom, Yahweh Shem Yahshua Barakatah to the brother G Style, hopeful elect, and Miss Zion.
yeah, Con, let me Con, yeah. Shalom, Yahweh Shem Yahshua Barakatah.
And Yasharala in Nevada too as well. I hope, brother, I remember we talked, you asked questions about baptism in that last lesson. So hopefully take an email and hit a brother up so we can try to get you squared away, Lord willing.
Con. Yeah, so we can move on to we still got a couple of more.
Con.
Yeah, it's only like a few. Yeah, you can go ahead and get this right here. This Galatians, I think, 5.
5 and 1. Con. All right. Right here. Stand fast, therefore, in the liberty wherewith Hamashiach have made us free, and be not entangled again with the yoke of bondage. I'm gonna read that again. Stand fast, therefore, in the liberty wherewith Hamashiach have made us free, and be not entangled again with the yoke of bondage. Don't get tired again with the same stuff that got us caught up before. When you get out of a hole, you know what I'm saying? You got Mashiach has pulled us out of that. He's pulling us out of that hole. Don't go back into that same hole. Behold, I, Paul, say unto you that if ye be circumcised, Hamashiach shall profit you nothing. So that's how you know it's not talking about an actual physical circumcision. It's about people putting on that carnal mentality. For I testify again to every man that is circumcised that he is a debtor to do the whole law. Hamashiach is become of no effect unto you. Whosoever of you are justified by the law, ye are fallen from grace. For we through the Spirit wait for the hope of righteousness by faith. After how you scroll up a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt.
For in Hamashiach, for on Yahawashi Hamashiach, neither circumcision availeth anything, nor uncircumcision, but faith which worketh by love. Hey, man. Yeah, man. when you the whole breakdown of that, could you scroll back up to?
Yeah, no doubt. Go back to that verse.
It tells you again, man. He's telling you again, for I tested every man is circumcised that he is a debtor to do the whole law. So again, you got to be caught up in that. It told you to free yourself from that bondage. Don't be caught up in that for that specific reason. If you're going to put yourself back in that bondage, entangling yourself, getting caught up, you're going to be like a hamster on the wheel, man, if you stay in that pathway.
Mm-hmm.
And Hamashiach has become, that's what we were just talking about. Hamashiach has become no effect onto people who take this pathway. If you're justified by the law, Yahawashi, he got nothing. There's nothing he can do for you.
Wait, what does it say? If you're justified by the law, what does it say after that? Verse 4.
Ye are fallen from grace.
You are falling out of favor with Yahweh.
Come on, man.
Once you try and justify yourself by the law, you have fallen out of favor with him. because what happened is you began to justify yourself before the Yahweh and said and about concerning the law. And now he can't show his favor towards you because your heart wasn't right. Because you began to seek after justification by the law. Now, for you brothers and sisters, if you remember, read the parable of the two men that went to the temple. One was a Pharisee and one was a publican. A publican is a tax collector, right? The Pharisee justified himself in the law before men, in the sight of men, and the other one, he didn't justify himself. Okay, so you don't want to fall out of grace with the Most High by justifying yourself in the law, because remember how he received you and he showed his grace towards you, right? What is grace? God's, or like it says there, God's unmerited favor, or what we would say Yahweh's unmerited favor. Okay, so you want to stay in that mode of grace with him, not justifying yourself in the law. That's why you have to be in the mindset of asking for mercy. Now, go ahead and read that verse 5, and you can go into that.
For we through the Spirit wait for the hope of righteousness by faith.
Wait, we're waiting?
We're waiting for the hope of righteousness by faith.
Meaning that your full effectiveness of righteousness is not fully going to come until you're getting to the kingdom, until you're of the elect. Why do we know that? Because when you go to the new covenant is the laws written on your heart, your inward part. Because you can't do it all. You can be justified, meaning you could be justified by faith, but making yourself fully righteous is not going to happen on this side. You're going to have to you're going to have to get the laws written on your inward part, and everybody that's of the elect. That's Romans 8:8, the new covenant. That's the full transformation. Now, right now, we're working on what's called sanctification. Sanctification is the process of you becoming more righteous in your walk, in your faith in Yahawashi, which in that process you're establishing the law. You're establishing the righteousness of the law, right? That is found in Yahawashi. But you're still in hope of the full righteousness that is by faith. Through the Spirit, you wait for the hope of righteousness by faith.
Because what? Who was the law made for, right? The law was made for who? The lawlessness. It was made for the people that were lawless.
Gone.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what to keep those, because in mentality just no different than in this world, man. Like a law is, obviously the wicked oppressor, but there's laws in place, and people that normally wouldn't do something now think about consequences when laws are in place, when there's a punishment for a particular thing that they would do. They keep them from doing it. It's the same concept the Most High, who thought of that first. The Most High did, of course. So that's why this law was set in place, man.
Mm-hmm.
So we follow that faith in Hamashiach Yahawashi. And like you said, that law is established as a result of the faith.
Exactly. That's heavy. So we're going to go on to Romans chapter 6, and I guess we could just read on down, because it's pretty much going to break down this whole aspect of grace and what we're dealing with. This is Romans chapter 6 and verse 1. What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? Yahweh forbid.
Yeah.
How shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein? Know ye not that so many of us as were baptized into Yahushua Mashiach were baptized into his death? Therefore we are buried with him by baptism into death, that like as Mashiach was raised up from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also should walk in newness of life. Okay, so that's what it means when that's the reason why the disciples were still baptizing in the book of Acts all the way through, to basically, that was an act of faith that the disciples were showing in Yahawashi, being that they understood that was an act of being buried with him and being risen with him. Okay, and then after that to walk into the newness of life, meaning, like it says in Colossians chapter 2, the handwritten of the ordinances that was against you were blotted away, meaning they no longer counted against you. These deeds, these transgressions that you once had were wiped away, and now you're walking in a newness of life. Okay, meaning now through the grace that the Most High has shown you, you're now being justified by faith in Yahawashi Mashiach, that you may live in this new path, go towards this path of sanctification, going towards this path of righteousness, which is based on that, which is found in Yahawashi Mashiach, like it says in the other epistles as well. Now, verse 5, for if we have been planted together in the likeness of his death, we shall be also in the likeness of his resurrection, knowing this, that our old man is crucified with him, that the body of sin might be destroyed, that henceforth we should not serve sin. For he that is dead is freed from sin. Now, if we be dead with Mashiach, we believe that we shall also live with him, knowing that Mashiach, being raised from the dead, dieth no more. Death hath no more dominion over him. Okay. Yeah.
It's cold, man.
Come on. That's sweet. Once Yahawashi conquered death, once he was risen from the dead and he had conquered death, death had no reign over him at all. He was eternal. Because the reason why man is not eternal, because you have yet not been in that stage of conquering death. He had to do it first. He had to be the first of many brethren. He had to conquer death first in order for others to conquer death and be made eternal with him. Verse 10, for in that he died unto sin once, but in that he liveth unto Yahweh. Likewise reckon ye also yourselves to be dead indeed unto sin, but alive unto Yahweh through Mashiach, Yahawashi our Lord. Okay, so that's how you want to look at it. You look at it that you become dead to sin, meaning you've been dead to the sin nature. You're now alive through this grace that Yahweh has given unto you through Yahawashi Mashiach. It's a different level it's a different energy that you're in. What do you call it? It's like a propellant energy. You know what I'm saying? Like an inertia, or kinetic energy or whatever, you're basically running on a different energy source that is geared pushing you towards righteousness versus the acts of sin. Verse 12, let not sin therefore reign in your mortal bodies, that ye should obey it in the lust thereof. Neither yield ye your members as instruments of unrighteousness unto sin, but yield yourselves unto Yahweh as those that are alive from the dead, and your members as instruments of righteousness unto Yahweh. For sin shall not have dominion over you, for ye are not under the law, but under grace. So here it is. All this talk is about sin and righteousness, right? Going towards a pathway of sin or going towards a pathway of righteousness. But then it says, for ye are not under the law, but you're under grace. So you have to understand why it's saying that. It doesn't mean that the law was abolished. It means that because you're under righteousness, what does it say in the scriptures? For these things, if you do these things as such, there is no law, right? Because you're in the energy of righteousness. You're falling after righteousness. There is no law. How are you gonna steal if you're righteous? If you're under the energy of righteousness, you're not gonna go steal. You're not gonna steal from your brother. You're not gonna go and kill someone, right? You're not gonna commit adultery. You're not gonna go and do those things that was under sin, because you're a righteous creature. See, a lot of times we overthink like what righteousness is. Righteousness is doing what's right according to the Lord. And most of that stuff you're already doing if you're righteous. You don't have to go and be like, oh, I can't, thou shalt not commit thou shalt not worship idols, right? Thou shalt not be a necromancer, right? Thou shalt not do witchcraft. If you're righteous, you're not even wanting to do that. You're not even thinking about that. So you're already in a righteous energy once you've believed in Yahawashi. You don't got to go to the law and read that again.
Nope. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like a moral standpoint, man. Like under the most high, it's like it's almost like it's like in you. There's even things in ourselves from a standpoint to before we even came into this knowledge that the Most High woke us up to, right? Where there's things that we would know from a moral, from a moral standpoint. I can speak for myself, definitely from a moral standpoint, that I didn't even want to do, not because I knew that it was part of the law, right? Just because it just was off. You know what I mean? It just felt off. And now once you come into the knowledge and understand, you look into aspects of the law, you're like, oh, so it was off. You know what I'm saying? But you came into that after the fact. It confirmed it. Scriptures, the Most High showed it to you, confirmed that what you were feeling was the wrong type of energy. When you was moving under that right energy, like you talk about, under that right spirit, then it's not something you even try to go do. The only thing we fight is our flesh. That's why we operate in the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
We ain't dealing with that.
Exactly.
Fight off that wickedness, man.
Exactly. Yeah, you're not going to be coveting your neighbor's wife if you're in the spirit. If you're in the flesh, you're going to do that. You're going to try and call brothers' wives and get in their heads to try and get to them. That's an inside joke.
Yeah.
But you're going to be doing stuff like trying to swindle somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like think about, you're gonna be thinking about scamming instead of you getting money the right way. You're gonna be thinking, man, how can I scam this guy? That's stealing. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
That's using deceit. Those are works of the flesh.
Mm-hmm.
You got people in Israel, that operate in that state of mind. They're thinking, how can I get in over on these guys? How can I make them give me more money? How can I make them give me tithes? Even though even though tithes is for the Levites, I know that, but I'm saying I can twist the scripture and get this money out of them. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm the elder. I shouldn't have to work. I'm so and so, big brother Almighty, and I shouldn't be working. Y'all brothers got to make sure that I'm not working at all. Y'all got to be sending y'all money to me every month.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the flesh. You ain't in the spirit, but if you're in the spirit, you ain't thinking about that. That type of stuff, you're like, you'd be like, man, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, you're not telling people to go. You're not telling people to go take the vaccinations is going to end a brother or sister's chance of salvation neither.
Come on, man.
Hey, man.
Because why? You love your neighbor as yourself.
As yourself, man. Why would you do that?
Which that's one of the things that your salvation hinges upon, is how you treat those around you.
Yeah.
How you care about those around you, even those that don't believe. You warn them, you tell them, don't do this, don't do that. Even all the way up into the last Trump, right? You want to be in the same mindset. So we'll go ahead and go to verse 15, and we'll just finish it off with this one. It says, verse Romans 6:15, what then shall we sin? Because we are not under the law, but under grace, Yahweh forbid. We just read that before in the other verse from the other book as well. It says the same thing. Okay, so you want to stay under grace. You do not want to justify yourself in the law. You want to stay in the Lord's favor. And how do you do that? You keep your faith in Yahawashi Mashiach. You stay under that lordship, under that mindset of what righteousness truly means in regards to the gospel. So hopefully, it's edifying. You have any other words, Ak?
The brother Yasharal in Nevada. We're not in the new covenant yet. That's the whole point. We was talking about. We're striving. We're fighting right now. Walking in the sanctification process, as the brother brought out earlier. And striving that we may be of that hopeful elect. To where we would be put into the new covenant. Because anytime we're in a situation where we have to even do these things, we have to think about it. Like the brother brought up, the fact that we have to think about things. Or know what's in the law. The law will be put right into your heart automatically, 100%. So, currently we're not in the new covenant, man. But Lord willing, everybody in this chat and other brothers and sisters, even outside this, as many as that seek Yahweh B'Shem Yahawashi, man, to be saved. So, and then we will be in the new covenant, Lord willing.
Yeah, because so what brothers got to understand is that we are believers of the new covenant. The Yahawashi is the mediator of a better covenant. So that particular covenant, you'd have to be fully delivered, because the thing about it is, if you don't make it to the end, how are you in the new covenant when the new covenant has promises of salvation? So if you're saying that you're in it, and what we'll do, we could briefly go into it, because it's no big deal. We can go into it briefly. Let's go there real quick. Hebrews
8:8.
Yeah, 8 and 8. Okay. And then we can bring out an example of when the new covenant will be established, right? So we can start at verse 6. This is Hebrews chapter 8 and 6. But now hath he obtained a more excellent ministry, by how much also he is a mediator of a better covenant, which was established upon better promises. Now, why does it say better promises? Because the promises is something that you have to get later. You don't get it now. It's no longer a promise. A promise is basically like an agreement. In fact, let's go into that word for promise. Okay. Okay, announcement, promise. Okay, act of promising, a promise given or to be given. Okay, a promise, good or blessing. Now it says an announcement, an assent or pledge. A pledge is something that if I pledge to do something, it doesn't have to happen right now. I'm just saying I'm going to do it, right? Especially a divine assurance of good. Now we're going to go further on into, as we read on down, you're going to see what the new covenant means. So verse 7, it says, for if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for another. For finding fault with them, he saith, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand out of the land, by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Lord. Now remember, the first covenant that was given, we were given that covenant after we were delivered. We didn't receive that covenant until after we were delivered. Likewise with the new, until we're delivered, that's when you'll be getting into the bond of that particular covenant. Okay. Is after, huh?
No, I was just saying, that was a dope point. That was a dope point you brought up. That happened after deliverance. So
exactly,
yeah,
it wasn't Moses. Moses was when you look at what Moses did, Moses is a similitude to Yahawashi. The Most High sent, just like Most High is going to send Yahawashi to deliver the children of Israel, the elect, and then establish a covenant with them. That's what he did with Moses. Moses was sent to deliver the children of Israel by the Most High, right? And to what? Bring them into a covenant, which was happened after deliverance. Now, when you go into verse 10, for this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind and will write them in their hearts. Has that happened to y'all yet? If it hasn't happened to you yet, you're not in the new covenant, because the laws would have to be in your mind and in your heart completely. And we're going to prove it to you. And I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, know the Lord, for all shall know me, from the least to the greatest. Well, guess what? We're still teaching. In fact, when you go through the epistles, the apostles were still teaching. That's why they were writing letters. In fact, the word teach comes up in the letters, in the book of Acts, and in the letters, in the epistles, the word teach comes up. Older woman, teach the younger how to love their husband, how to love their children. You know, these do and teach, right? Mm-hmm. Those type of phrases are in those. If that's in there, that proves that they were not under this particular covenant at the time. Okay. Verse 12. Let me see here. Yeah, for I will be merciful to their unrighteousness, and their sins and their iniquities will I remember no more. And that he saith a new covenant. Now he's breaking it down. He's showing, Paul saying, in that he says a new covenant, he hath made the first old. Now that which decayeth and waxeth old is ready, meaning future tense, to vanish away. The reason why we know we're not under this new covenant is because the curse of the law still came upon us after this point. Why did our forefathers get taken down 500 years ago? Why did our people go into captivity? Why did our people fall down to being at the bottom of society all over the world? Because the old covenant was still around, and the old covenant, in that covenant, contained what? Curses of the law that would happen to the seed that would, if they transgress, they would fall under these particular curses.
And what you still see, these curses still upon us to this very day.
Exactly.
That's why we need to be saved out of it.
Exactly. We got to be saved out of it. So, you know, that's one of the easier ways to kind of break that down. And, you know, that's one of the things that we have to understand, is that this doesn't mean we don't believe in it. In fact, that's what we are believing in. We're hoping in this particular new covenant, meaning to be a part of it. That's what you're striving for right now. You're the mediator is Yahawashi. Once you're delivered by Yahawashi and he brings you into that new covenant, you officially have been transformed into that new likeness like he was. Okay, that's what you're striving for, is to obtain that mercy, that deliverance, and to receive that what? That everlasting salvation. It's so, because that's why the Christian church has messed up a lot of people, because they told them, because they believe in Jesus Christ, that they're in this new covenant, therefore they're saved. They're jumping the gun in their understanding of doctrine. We are basically saying where we're at. We're in limbo in hoping for this to be part of this new covenant, this new agreement that will be given to those that are shown mercy. Okay. So we'll probably, you know, it's possible we might even do a live stream on this too. You know, being that the brother asked that, maybe, I guess we'll probably think about doing a live stream on this topic as well. probably won't be long because we've actually had this discussion before. So, but we'll probably bring it out for brothers that maybe want to have understanding of this new covenant thing. There's actually lessons that we've done as well on this topic, but we'll probably try and go into this as well, another time.
Yeah, I would permit it. Yeah, sound like a good idea, just in case the brothers know, because this is what we're getting ready to go through right now. The stuff that we're getting ready to encounter, that we have encountered, are encountering, and are getting ready to encounter, that's not going to be in the new covenant. So, just so brothers and sisters are edified on that. So, because that is a question that does pop up from time to time.
Con. All right, so shoot, that'll be it, man. So with that, we want to give all praises and glory to Yahweh, Yahweh, peace, grace, and mercy be abound to the whole full elect scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom.
Shalom.